Hey there, welcome to Toy Talk with Mike and Chad, episode 64. I'm Mike.
I'm Chad.
And the toys that we're going to be talking about today are some of my new Marvel Legends. Now, you've got a bunch of new toys for the first time in a long time.
Yes.
But none of them are Marvel Legends.
None of them are Marvel Legends.
So we figure we're going to shoot 2 episodes. We're going to do a Chad-focused episode on all his new stuff. And we're going to do this episode about my new Marvel Legends. Because I've got a lot of them. And they're piling up, and I can't put them away on my shelves until I've reviewed them. So let's get to it. There's been a couple of new waves out. 2 waves hit at like the exact same time. So there was the latest Build-A-Figure wave, and then there was also the Iron Man retro carded wave. Are any of these figures on your radar at all? Like the Iron Man retro?
The Iron Man retro was... but I've had to kind of pick and choose what I'm getting right now. I'm still getting back to work and trying to build some funds up. So I had to cancel a bunch of pre-orders. I think it was like 36 while I was off. And so it is on my list, but
and even there's things that have been coming out that I want to pre-order, and believe it or not, I am trying to be a little resistant to certain things, but I am really worried about missing out on figures because, like, for example, there was a Hasbro website exclusive, which was a Shield, like a female nameless Shield agent and a female nameless Hydra agent. So they were just kind of cool troop builders that came with a bunch of different heads. So technically, you could buy the pack 2 or 3 times and put the different heads on it. It would seem like you had a whole little army. And it's the kind of thing, I love those like troop builder packs. But since they were nameless characters, they weren't must-haves in my mind. I'm like, I'll get them, but I don't want to pay $75 for them or whatever. But then they went down to half price. And they were down to like $35 or $39 or something. And I felt like, okay, that's much more reasonable. I should pull the trigger, but I kind of played chicken, and I was like, maybe they'll go even less. Anyway, they have since sold out, and now they're completely gone from the website. Like, oftentimes on Hasbro's website, when they might restock something, it just says out of stock. But this went out of stock, and then a little while later, it just went from the website. So I feel I just missed out on it. There's probably a lot of people that maybe bought it once, and then when it went on sale, they're like, oh, now I can get a couple more to troop build, and they must have sold out. And so who knows? Maybe it will show up again later in the year. But right now, I think I missed out on that set. And we
can talk about that later. I might have a lead for you.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. But yeah, there's a lot of YouTubers talking about this exact same thing, in that you and I have felt burned in the past, because we would buy a bunch of figures, and then at the end of the year, they'd put on like, oh, it's the end of the year sale. Everything is like 40% off. And I would see like 60 figures that I bought that year for full price. And now they're all 40% off. And I started thinking, like, I'm going to start waiting. Especially last year was really bad because there was a lot of like Hasbro stuff and a lot of Super 7 stuff.
Super 7 Ultimates. They had a giant sale in October, was it?
Yeah, like 60% off some things. So deeply discounted, and you start feeling like a sucker for paying full price. And but anyway, there's a lot of YouTubers, I don't know how credible they are, but it also just kind of makes sense, is they're warning people, like, I know it's tempting because of what happened the last 2 years or so to wait until sales, but the toy companies are ramping back production. You know, they have to course correct because everybody was buying stuff in bulk in COVID. Everybody was going collector crazy. It's calmed down, so they've readjusted their numbers. So now things are probably less than, like, supply is less than demand. Again, I don't know if they have any insider information, but that does just kind of make sense. Stores don't want to have to be marking things down 60% off at the end of the year. So every time I pass on a pre-order, I'm always like, I'm worried. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so for the Iron Man retro carded wave, there's a couple of characters that I like. Like there was Count Nefaria. Mm-hmm. Do you know him?
He was on my list.
Yeah, like he's not particularly interesting. His costume, his character. I haven't even read a lot of comic books with him, but he's just a unique Marvel character, and I like adding unique Marvel characters. It's rather than just another Spider-Man or another Iron Man. But he just wasn't high enough on my list to justify me spending nearly $40 to get him. So I'm hoping I can get him on sale later, but for now I passed. There's a bunch of cool new Iron Man outfits or armors.
Mm-hmm.
I passed on them. I think there was one of those you were thinking of.
Yeah, it was the original Iron Man one, with the gold and the red suit, and he had the Tony Stark head.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not the original, but he's got these big fat boots.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a nice. Like I have a lot of Iron Mans that are similar, but like I really do like the big boots on him and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, he'd be cool too, but not for $40 when I already have a dozen or more Iron Man figures. But I did buy an Iron Man, so I got this guy. So this is like the version 2 Iron Man armor. So version 1 is the metal, like the gunmetal kind of gray armor, which even if you're not familiar with the comics, if you're familiar with the movies,
that was the one he built in the cave.
Yeah, he builds it in a cave, and that's how he got loose. Yeah. And then in the movies, he went right from that iteration to the really fancy red and gold one that he made famous. But in the comic books, this was one of the transitional suits. So first he went from the gray one, which I already have as an action figure. So this is the clunky gray. It's a little sleeker than the clunky gray one from the movies. The comic book one was a little sleeker. But then he went to that gold version before he got to the kind of more popular red and gold. But I like both of these. It's hard for me to pick which one I like better.
I think I would go with the gray one, personally. I haven't read Iron Man comics in a very long time.
Yeah.
So, well, I like things that are based off the original stuff.
Yeah.
I would go with that. Not saying that this isn't an original, but it's almost the same too, and I prefer the gray.
They are very much the same. Like the gold is, arguably a more interesting color.
Yeah.
It does have the added skirt piece, which I don't necessarily think is an improvement.
No, it's weird. It makes it look like he's wearing a dress.
Yeah, like a little dress or a tunic or whatever. But yeah, it's unnecessary. It is comic book accurate. Yeah. But and the other thing that for me personally makes me like at least the figure better, like the gray figure, maybe not so in the comic books, but if you look at this guy and his face, he's just got blacked out eyes, so it almost looks like an empty tin can inside there. But this one you can see Tony Stark's human blue eyes like staring out at you. And I don't like that as much. I like this one looks more like a robot or a suit of armor or something. I don't necessarily like seeing his human eyes through the holes. But it is a nice figure. Like that one there was a really solid base figure to begin with.
Yeah, for sure.
And as soon as I got that, I knew we'd be getting a gold repaint at some point in the future. So when this one came out on the retro card, I was like, well, I got to get it. I love this armor. And it's,
I think I like the detail on this one a lot more, like the scuff marks and,
Yeah, that one is kind of beat up. This one is nice and pristine.
Sheen.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is him. And then the one other figure I got from this wave was Whiplash. Now, this is a kind of a dweeby looking villain, but he's a character that I really wanted for a while. I don't know if you have much experience with Whiplash.
I know who Whiplash... Pardon me. I know who Whiplash is, but I don't have a lot of experience with him.
Yeah.
Like the face kind of reminds me of a Daredevil. Like I see...
Yeah, he's got that kind of cropped mask with just his mouth and kind of the bottom of his nose showing. But he was played by Mickey Rourke in the movie.
Yeah.
But he didn't dress anything like Mickey or like Whiplash from the comic books. Because I kind of like how Iron Man in the comic books, sure, he has some armored villains, like Titanium Man and the Crimson Dynamo. But a lot of his villains are just wearing spandex, just like Spider-Man's villain. And this guy is just a typical supervillain in tights. I didn't like in the movie they felt the need to put everybody in armor all the time.
Yeah, that was weird.
Just like, anybody he fought in the movies were just like, put him in armor, put him in armor. And it felt a little repetitive. And Whiplash, even though I really liked Mickey Rourke's take on this guy. It seemed pretty original. It didn't really seem based on the comic book at all.
Right.
But I like Mickey Rourke, so I liked that. But I wish he had donned something similar to this. Although, to be fair, he probably would have looked ridiculous.
Yeah. I am a fan of the green hair, though.
Yeah, which is not his hair. That's his...
Just part of the mask?
Yeah, just part of the mask. I can't remember what this guy looks like unmasked. But yeah, I think that's just like a weird ponytail that's attached to the mask.
Okay, well, that loses points for that, then.
Yeah. But one of the reasons I wanted this guy is because I have this toy of him from like the 90s Toy Biz Iron Man line. And every time a toy line gets upgraded, like when G.I. Joe goes from 3 inches to 6 inches or whatever, I always want my new collection to be an improvement to my old one. And I hate when there's like holes left in my collection. I apologize if you can hear my dog barking, but my wife is just coming home from the grocery store. But yeah, so this was a guy that I got in 1994, let's say, and then they haven't done another version of him, as far as I know. Like I collected the Marvel Universe 4-inch line for a while, and they didn't put him in there. They did a Mickey Rourke one, but that one didn't really count. And then I've been collecting these 6-inch Marvel Legends now for several years, and I've just been waiting and hoping for a Whiplash.
And you got him.
I got him. He's definitely nicer looking than the old Toy Biz one. I like the black much better than the blue. Yeah, a lot of nice detail in his face and everything there. I think he's a cool figure. The whip's a little awkward because that's his whole thing. He has his energy whip, and it's I kind of wish it was a little posable, like if it had a wire or something in there, but instead it's just this kind of gummy thing. But it doesn't stay in his hands. He doesn't have a tight enough grip, and it's also kind of too heavy for his limp wrist. That if you put it in his wrist just kind of automatically turns because of the weight of it. And I'm not questioning anything about his preferences. It's just he physically has a limp wrist. So anyway, I'm glad I got him, but there could be some improvements perhaps. All right, next, before we get into the Build-A-Figure wave, there was a retro wave of Spider-Man that came out a couple of months ago. I reviewed most of them, and I think my last Marvel Legends video, because I got Tombstone and Jack-O-Lantern, Hallows' Eve. But one of the ones I wanted but couldn't get was the Scarlet Spider. He sold out very quickly. Anyway, they did another run of him, I think, or they found some somewhere. So I was able to get a Scarlet Spider, and I love it. I think this is an awesome figure.
He's one of the ones I had to cancel, so I'm sad. I'm sad about that, but happy you got him.
Yeah.
Hey, and now I'm jealous.
Well, like I have here a Scarlet Spider that I've had for a few years. And this is one of the reasons why like I was a little reluctant to buy it, because I really don't want to get into replacing my characters every couple of years, every time Hasbro decides they can make a few improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll go broke really, really quick if all my old toys become redundant and I have to replace them all. So every now and again, they put out a new Captain America and I say, I don't need it. My old Captain America is good enough. And with Scarlet Spider, this figure is good. I had no problems with this figure, really. Like it has pins on the arms. This one doesn't. But I don't really care about that. That's not reason enough for me to buy a new Scarlet Spider. But the fact of the matter is, Hasbro in the last couple of years have been making amazing Spider-Man figures. They've been making Spider-Man figures for a long, long time, but in the last couple of years, like if you look at my best of the year list, the last couple of years, I had Black Suit Spider-Man on, I think, was it last year?
Yeah.
And then the newest Red and Blue Spider-Man the year before that. And I did not expect to like those figures nearly as much as I did. It's just they perfected the sculpt, because some Spider-Mans look a little gangly and lanky, and that's what this one suffers from, I think. Like the way his legs connect to his hips and everything, it just doesn't look as good. And then side by side, I was like, yeah,
He's brighter red.
Yeah. He's better in every way.
Also, was that a pun intended? Where you said Hasbro has been making amazing Spider-Man figures?
No.
I kind of like this one more because
he's better.
Like the hoodie looks like it's ripped. Like you can see the texture. And
it's a separate piece.
The ripped hoodie. It's a separate piece, not sculpted on.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about the Scarlet Spider, but I do like the black lines around the eyes on your first one,
See, I like the other one better because
but
it's raised.
it's cleaner and it's cleaner.
And they're sculpted. Because this other one here, it's just a round head, and they painted white eyes on it, which is fine. But this one here, they actually sculpted the shape of the eyes. So even though the eyes aren't traced in black, it kind of creates a natural shadow, so it kind of outlines them, and I think looks better. The hoodie's better because it floats on his chest. It's not just... so his joints are better, his colors are better. Just his proportions, he doesn't look as gangly. He looks more muscular.
Which, I mean, you would expect Spider-Man to have at least a little bit of muscle on him. Not too much, but...
Yeah, especially modern Spider-Man. Like, at the start, Spider-Man was a teenager and he's supposed to be a gangly kid. But over the years, people have definitely drawn him to be a very fit man. And yeah, some artists still kind of go back to like the Steve Ditko original Spider-Man. They try and draw him really kind of spider-like and creepy, which this guy falls more into that category. But I like my Spider-Man to look more like somebody that goes to the gym and he's buff. And yeah, this Scarlet Spider, the new one, is just I think an improvement in every way.
Yeah.
And I don't have to even put this guy away and say, well, I can't have two of the same figure because of the Spider-Verse movies. It allows me in my head to be like, well, these are just Scarlet Spiders from different universes, so they can stand beside each other on the shelf, and that's all fine. And yeah, I know you say you don't know much about them. I would be happy to fill you in, but we don't have nearly enough time on here because his story is convoluted.
Yes.
All right, so that was the last figure from the Spider-Man Retro wave. But I do have another Spider-Man Retro figure that wasn't really part of the wave. This was kind of its own standalone piece, and it was a Walmart exclusive. Although it has recently showed up on GameStop's website, so I guess the exclusivity deal has run its course. And this was another one I really wasn't sure if I should buy. This is the Prowler. I really like the Prowler, and this is a really nice figure.
That's what I forgot to do.
Pre-order him?
Yeah.
But
I don't have good luck with Walmart, so...
Well, now you don't have to go through Walmart. You can go through GameStop. But like, I already have a Prowler in my collection, which is pretty good. Like, this guy, he wasn't perfect. His cape floats around really weird. I never really liked that about it. But that wasn't enough for me to say this was a shitty figure or anything. I thought it was pretty good. Now, this guy here is an improvement. His colors are lighter. He's based more on the cartoon than maybe this guy's based on the comic books. And I really debated on whether I should pre-order him and maybe just take my chances when I see him in hand if I think he's worth pre-buying. But those Walmart exclusives have sold out really quickly, like the Lizard. He was really hard. And was it Scorpion? Was he the other one?
Yep.
But yeah, they were really hard to get, and they never did a repop of them. Like, if we missed out on the original pre-order, that seemed to be it.
Well, Scorpion is sitting in my pile of loot.
Okay.
Big Bad Toy Store, so they did.
Okay, but Lizard hasn't gotten any easier.
Nothing. Which pissed me off.
So with Prowler, I kind of felt almost bullied to, like, I have to pre-order this as soon as it goes up on the website because I don't want to... I can always cancel it if I think about it and to change my mind, but I can't change my mind and buy it if it's sold out everywhere. So I went ahead and pre-ordered it, and I just stuck it out until it eventually showed up at my door. So...
I asked you
Yep.
in a Facebook message before when you sent me this. This is not Uncle Aaron.
No. So that's the thing with this guy's got convoluted too. Every Spider-Man character is convoluted, but the Prowler was one of those characters, kind of like the Sandman, for those of you who don't like. A lot of Spider-Man's villains become his allies at some point down the road. Because you find out maybe they were robbing the bank because they needed the money to save their dying grandfather or something. So this guy here, his name, I believe is pronounced Hobie. Sometimes I say Hobby, but I think it's Hobie Brown. And this guy started off as like a crook, but then he was like reformed and became an ally of Spider-Man, and that's who Hobie has been for many, many, many years. But then in the Ultimate Universe, where Miles Morales lived, that was kind of an alternate take on Spider-Man. So instead of Peter Parker, we had Miles Morales. And sometimes the characters in the Ultimate Universe are very similar to the ones in the regular universe. Sometimes they change them up. And in the Ultimate Universe, rather than have Hobie Brown even be a character, they introduced the Prowler as Miles' Uncle Aaron, which you guys might be familiar with if you've seen the Spider-Verse movies. This here is my Prowler Uncle Aaron figure. The costume is very similar. He's still got the purple mask and the cape, but there are some differences. Yeah. But then Marvel decided that their Ultimate Universe wasn't really selling that well, so they wanted to kind of cancel that line of books. But Miles Morales was the one anomaly that was doing really well. So what they did is they found some convoluted way to bring Miles Morales and his really close supporting cast into the regular Marvel Universe. And one of his close supporting cast was Uncle Aaron the Prowler. So now you had to try to explain to people how you had two different guys walking around calling themselves the Prowler at the same time. And what they opted to do was just let Uncle Aaron be the Prowler, since he was kind of now the more popular version in mainstream media and everything like that. And they gave Hobie Brown the identity of the Hornet, which was a character who had passed away, and that identity wasn't in use anymore. But then to further convolute things, in one of the other Ultimate Universes is Spider-Punk, which became really popular in the last Spider-Verse movie. Yeah. In that universe, rather than have that Spider-Man be Peter Parker or a whole new character, he's a version of Hobie Brown. So now people know Hobie Brown as Spider-Punk, and they know Uncle Aaron as Prowler, and it's really confusing. But anyway.
I like the figure. My only qualm about it is how like gummy the fingers are. I'd be terrified they'd snap off. It's not like solid plastic.
Well, see, so that guy's colors, the way they're brighter, and the way he's got black on his mask, which the other one did not have. Like, he doesn't have that on his mouth and nose. So that is based on the 90s cartoon. And here's my 90s Toy Biz Prowler figure in the brighter, more pastel-y purple colors. Now check him out. He's got a weird thing with his hand. He's got like Wolverine lightsaber kind of claws. And it's weird to see they kind of eroded. But yeah, you pull this back and lock them in like that, and then they pop out. I don't know why. That's kind of weird. But yeah, his hands are a little gummy. I think he did have alternate hands with fists as well. And one thing this guy had that was nice is he does have an unmasked, like a Hobie Brown head. Yeah, so he's got kind of like a flat top haircut. It's pretty cool. I might display one of my Prowlers with the Hobie Brown, but I think I might actually put it on my older Prowler figure, just because I think I do prefer this one, this one's mask. So hopefully the head pegs are the same size, and I can just put the Hobie head there. But yeah,
super cool
Prowler. All right, so then the Build-A-Figure wave. So this was a real mixed bag. And this one, I was excited when they announced this line of figures, but also a little disappointed, because it sucks when you want the Build-A-Figure and you don't want all the figures. Yeah. And like one of our local comic shops, Giant Robot Comics, they sell spare Build-A-Figure parts that people don't want, which is great if I can walk in there and find an arm for $5 or something. Because yeah, if I could buy the arms and the legs that I was missing for $5, fantastic. The problem is, like, the Build-A-Figures that are popular that everybody wants to build them. So the spare parts that they have at Giant Robot are often for the shittier Build-A-Figures that nobody really cared about. So when it's a hot Build-A-Figure, it becomes pretty hard to track down the secondary pieces. And you can go on eBay and you can buy just the legs and the arms. But most people are asking like at least $10 for the arm,
and then like $30 for shipping.
And shipping at best here in Canada, where it's like $10. So you're like, okay, well, I'm paying $10 for the thing and $10 for the shipping. Like, I'm in for $20. It's like it's $30 to just buy the thing, and then you get the whole extra figure. So yeah, I just end up buying the figures most of the time. So this wave here is 3 figures that I really wanted, and 3 that I did not. So, oh, and you know what? I actually forgot. I do have another figure from the Iron Man retro wave that I forgot to mention. This here is the She-Hulk, and specifically the Sensational She-Hulk. And I really didn't know if I was going to buy this figure. Like, when I saw it announced, I didn't like pre-order it or anything, because I thought I could probably do without. But then I saw it in hand, and I was like,
she does look nice.
It is really nice.
I like the hair texture.
Yeah, the hair is like it's a big chunk of plastic.
Yeah.
Like they did a really good job because in the comic book she was like designed with like this big poofy kind of like '80s hair, and they really delivered there. I find sometimes characters that have big hair, like even Medusa, the character that has living hair, and
Yeah.
she's always drawn with this big plume of hair. The figure's hair was really flat. Typhoid Mary is another character who has big poofy '80s hair, but the action figure they kind of cheaped out and they gave her flat hair. This one here is the first one I've seen where they said, you know what? If we have to put half of the cost of this figure into her hair because it's that much extra plastic, we're gonna do it. And they gave her that big old '80s hair, and it looks great.
I would actually probably pick this up if I saw it.
Yeah, it's nice because like that's the She-Hulk that I know the most. Like when she was first introduced, she had her own comic book called The Savage She-Hulk, where she was kind of an angry character, like her cousin, the Hulk. But then later she got a reboot in the kind of late '80s called The Sensational She-Hulk, and it was a like a comedy book. She talked to the reader like it was kind of like Deadpool, where she would break the fourth wall, and it was she'd complain about the artist, and like her outfits would be like, who'd you hire to draw this issue? This outfit's out of date, and like it was funny and it was well done because that stuff can be really bad if not executed well, but they did a good job with it in the '80s, and so that's the version of her I know best. And the She-Hulks that I had two She-Hulks in my collection. Now this one here I really like. I think it's a beautiful figure. But this is her look from a very specific moment in time, which was quite short-lived. It was right around the time of the second superhero civil war, where she was gray and she was angry because I think she was dating War Machine at the time and he had been killed or something. So anyway, she was pissed off. So they've sculpted her really angry. She's wearing ripped up clothes, and that was great. And it really captures that look. But then I think a lot of people complained and said, we want a green She-Hulk. She only looked like this for like 10 minutes. We want the green She-Hulk that's been around for decades. And they kind of took the easy way out and they took that figure and painted it green. And it just, I can't look at this figure and think like this is just gray She-Hulk painted green. Like green She-Hulk doesn't look like this.
No.
Even if this was supposed to be her Savage She-Hulk days from her first appearance, then she wore like kind of a white ripped dress. She didn't wear like jeans so this one just didn't really cut it. This was them trying to appease the fans, I think. But yeah, this is them finally giving fans what they wanted. And yeah.
They really defined her butt too. Like
yeah, like her whole sculpt, the musculature and everything.
Yeah.
So everything from her glutes to her abs and everything, like it's just I don't know if they can use this sculpt too many more times because she's tall and she's muscular, but she's feminine. So like most female superheroes are still kind of petite. They don't want them to come across as big old, butches. But yeah, there's a couple of characters like Titania and stuff they could reuse this body for. But yeah, this is a really solid figure. So pretty pleased with her. All right, so on to the Build-A-Figure wave. So I'll start with the ones that I wasn't really thrilled about. But none of them are bad, by the way. So this here is a guy they call Black Winter Thor. And you probably can't see him well here, but I'll put in an insert. And again, my dog is barking. You can probably hear that on camera, but whatever. What do you think of this guy? He's got a big old head of hair, too.
Yeah, I know nothing about this creature.
And he's from a pretty recent run of Thor. There's this writer, Donny Cates, who had done a really good run on Venom, and then he got on Thor, and unfortunately, I think his Thor plans got a little derailed because he got into like a car accident or something, and he got some brain damage, and they had to replace him. And anyway, I don't know all the details, so I don't want to get into it, but like it sucked that Donny Cates didn't get to finish his story. But this was from the early, like the first arc of Donny Cates' run, and I read it, and I remember liking it. But when they showed this figure, I was like, I don't remember what this guy's deal is. But the thing is, you'll see this Thor figure I have here from maybe a year or two ago. This is the Thor as he appeared in Donny Cates' run. And the reason he looks a little different than you're used to seeing him is because Donny Cates' run started with Galactus needing a new herald So kind of like how Silver Surfer worked for Galactus or whatever. And so Thor became like the new herald of Galactus. And Galactus was on his like at death's door essentially because he said he fought somebody called the Black Winter, and then the Black Winter showed up. And the Black Winter, the reason he looks like Thor is because it's one of those things kind of like Zool from Ghostbusters, I think, if my memory serves. Like it takes on the appearance of what you envision or something. So he doesn't necessarily look like a dead ringer for Thor, but in the comic books, that's how he was portrayed in Thor's mind, an evil version of himself. So even though I don't think anybody was really clamoring for this figure, I understand why they made it. They already had this sculpt of Thor, so it's like all they did was change his head and otherwise paint him different.
Yeah, I mean, I like the texture of the cape, how it's almost like they cut it up just to show off the tattered
Yeah, the
look.
new tattered cape is nice.
And the texture of the actual outfit is nice too. It's like it has a little bit of ribbing on it.
Yeah, like I really liked this design of Thor's costume from the neck down, but I did miss the helmet with the wings. I don't like this little like tiara that he's wearing.
Yeah, it reminds me of oh my god, what's his name from Lord of the Rings? Hugo Weaving's character.
Yeah,
Elrond.
yeah, I know what you're saying, but yeah, it just doesn't look as good as the helmet. So this guy here, he's got the same thing, the little tiara thing. But yeah, this guy's hair, you can see how it's draped really down. He kind of looks like what's his face from Lord of the Rings, the elf with the archer guy. That Legolas, like the really almost whitish blonde hair draped down. But this guy here, you can see his hair is going fucking crazy. Like it kind of looks like I think because they fought in like the vacuum of space or something, so his hair was just always blowing around all kind of wild like that. And I'm impressed that they again pulled it off because it seems like a lot of times when it comes to big hair, they try and find a way to flatten it down, but they didn't here. It looks good. And the other thing that's kind of note is this Thor. You see his hammer is sculpted in like translucent blue, and it's got this cool crackling blue energy that you can slide onto it to just give it more of an effect. So this guy here, he's got a black hammer, and instead of the crackling effect, they've given it like a black smoky effect. So there's this plume of smoke, and that's removable. So you can take that off if you don't like it. But it is a cool accessory. So yeah, I wasn't dying for this figure, and if it didn't come with a Build-A-Figure part, I would not have bought it.
Okay.
But it's not one I'm mad about having. It's pretty cool. Here's another one I wasn't necessarily dying for. This is the Red Widow. She's a relatively new character. She was introduced during Jason Aaron's run on the Avengers in the last couple of years. So she is from the same program that the Black Widow is from. And I don't remember if we ever really learned her identity. I think it was kind of a mystery, like who is this chick? And I think she had been badly burned, so she doesn't take her mask off. But I think we were kind of waiting for like a big reveal that never really came. Not that I remember, anyway. So she's a new character. I like getting new characters. I like getting unique figures. But she didn't make a big impression on me in the comic books, partly because there was no big reveal for her identity, or if there was, it like just didn't resonate. So it's like, yeah, she was a character. She looks kind of cool. She's like a red ninja chick, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. It's not like a really original design.
No, I actually quite like her though. I like her weapon, like her dual bladed weapon. And again, you said ninja, and I have a thing for ninjas. I am a ninja, so yeah, I like her.
I like her too.
Would I buy her? Probably not, but
well, she looks. We talked a little bit a while ago. I got some reaction figures that were translucent color, and they looked like they were Jolly Ranchers, and they looked delicious.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought of when I opened her up is she looks like a fruit roll up. She's just like, she's got this really, really rich colored red. Like it really pops. Like you just want to put her in your mouth. It looks delicious. I don't know, but that fruit roll up like cape that she's wearing, it hinders her movement. Like it's just draped around her. I kind of wish it had been soft goods. It's like, when you had, when you were a kid, the Royal Guard from Return of the Jedi, and he was just like a red dude, and he was basically just, because his red cloak was draped over him, he was just like a butt plug. He wasn't really an action figure. And that's kind of what she's like. It's just her cape drapes over her, and she's very limited in what she can do.
That might be a pretty sharp butt plug, though, with like the collar.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually recommend inserting her anywhere, or the Royal Guard for that matter. But it's just, I'm just saying, like, they just became a rod of plastic, and there wasn't a whole lot you could do with them. In modern versions of the Royal Guard, they use soft goods, and then he had a whole sculpted body underneath, so you could have his arms and his legs out from his cloak. But yeah, the vintage one was just a solid chunk, and this one here, she's just kind of a solid chunk too. And for a ninja type character, you really want to be able to get her arms moving and everything. So yeah, she has a cool accessory. She had alternate hands, so you can either give her fists or open hands. I'm giving her the open hand so she can hold on to her staff. But yeah, not much more to really say there. All right, so the last figure that I was not thrilled about, but again, it's not a bad figure at all, is Cable. Now, this guy, everybody knows who Cable is, I think. But I am not a big Cable fan. And they've made a couple of Cables in the past. The first one I didn't think was very interesting at all, and I didn't buy it. But the second one they did, looked like it was based on Rob Liefeld's art style, which is the guy that created Cable. That was his first appearance. And I thought, well, if I'm going to own a Cable, I want one based on Rob Liefeld's art with the big shoulder pads, the big gun. And so I already have that version, and it does the trick. But then this one came out, and this one's based on his look from like the Capcom game. So a lot of people, I guess, have an affinity for that. I didn't really play the Capcom game, so I don't really care. He did wear an outfit like this kind of later in his appearances. Like, he used to have a comic book called Cable and Deadpool, and he looked more like this in that comic. But again, he's just not a character I really liked, so I didn't need this outfit for him. I didn't like that I was being forced to buy another version of a character that I don't really love. But it's not a bad figure. I don't hate that I own this. It's a nice looking figure.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Also not a fan of Cable, so
yeah. But like the sculpt and the paint on his face, like he's got 5 o'clock shadow, which looks really good.
Yeah.
He's got the scars over his eye, which looks good, and he has the little glow effect in his eye. He's like to be perfectly honest, I like this figure better than my other Cable. But I still, if I was going to own one Cable, I would still prefer the Rob Liefeld version. But I think this guy is better as far as the sculpt, the painting, the proportions. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'd love one of those guns for my Red Hood that came without guns.
Yeah. Yeah, McFarlane does not put guns with his figures. But
that's because of Warner Brothers and the license.
Yeah. Now, I will say with these, so he comes with 2 guns. But Cable, again, maybe this is more the Liefeld version, but Cable is known to carry guns the size of like Buicks. So the fact that he's got like a little Magnum here or whatever this is, it's a little underwhelming. Like my other Cable, you can kind of see me up on the top corner there, and he's carrying around a gigantic, ridiculous gun. So yeah, this guy's guns are a little small for my tastes. But anyway, going back to what we were talking about earlier about the fear of missing out on something if it sells out, I got a little burned on this, and maybe I got a little too scared, but my thought process when this wave came out is I pre-ordered the 3 figures I wanted, and I said, you know what? The other 3 figures, I'll get them up for sale later, hopefully. But then as the release date crept closer and closer, I thought, well, you know what? I want to at least make sure I have the Build-A-Figure's head, which came with the Black Winter Thor. So I bought Black Winter Thor. I pre-ordered him. So then when the figures came in, I had 4 of them. And I was missing the 2 legs I needed for the Build-A-Figure character, which came with Cable and Red Widow. And I was like, I'll wait on them. And then what almost like never seems to happen, but online there was like a frenzy about this figure. I don't know if you really pay attention to the Marvel Legends communities or not, but people were frantic about this figure, saying like, I need to have it. It's so cool. I've been waiting forever for this figure. And people were selling it for like double and triple the price on eBay really quickly. And this guy was sold out on Big Bad Toy Store. He was sold out on Amazon. He was sold out on Hasbro. He was sold out everywhere. And then I was really kicking myself. I'm like, God damn it. I don't want to have a Build-A-Figure and never be able to get one of his legs. Like, that will really be annoying. I'm like, I knew I wanted the Build-A-Figure. I should have just sucked it up and bought all 6 figures at once. And so I was able to track him down afterwards. I bought him from my local comic shop, but I paid more for him and Red Widow. Those two were the two I paid the most money for. And the whole idea of me not buying them in advance was I would save money by getting them at discount later. And it bit me in the ass. So that is why, with the new wave of figures that they just announced, there's another Build-A-Figure that I want. And I don't want all the characters, but I just went ahead and pre-ordered all 6 of them anyway. So, yeah, I'm spending a little bit more money than I'd like, but at least I have the comfort of knowing
you're going to get them.
I have the Build-A-Figure, and I don't have to chase them around. All right, next guy. So this is one of the figures I was excited about. This is Ikaris of the Eternals. Now, if I had said a couple of years ago, this is of the Eternals, probably most people wouldn't know what the hell I was talking about. I assume more people do know because there was a movie, but nobody seemed to like the movie.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan.
I liked the movie, but I think it helped because I already liked the characters.
Yeah.
I could understand if you went in there cold, not knowing these characters, because it wasn't like the fun event of Guardians of the Galaxy. A lot of people didn't know who those characters were when they went into that movie, but they all left loving those characters. Eternals, not so much. It was very dour, very serious. The costumes weren't as exciting. So yeah, I can understand why the movie didn't.
I mean, that's a really nice figure, though.
Yeah, and even if you don't love the Eternals comic books, like maybe they're not the most exciting or whatever, they are designed by Jack Kirby, and anything designed by Jack Kirby is visually interesting. He gives them all kinds of weird wavy lines and circles, and he's really amazing at designing characters. And so all the Eternals have really interesting designs. And when the movie came out, they made action figures based on the movie, and I bought all of those. I don't often buy MCU movie figures because I prefer the comic book versions, but with the Eternals, I thought, well, I'm probably never going to get comic book versions, so if I want these guys in my collection in any way, I'm going to have to buy the movie ones. So this here is the movie version of him, and like it's okay, but like comparatively, it's just
yeah. No.
Yeah, like I just see the actor when I can't think of his name at the moment, but when I look at this, I don't see Ikaris. I just see the actor that played him, and the costume isn't really anything like his classic costume. So this is really the first comic Eternal figure we've ever gotten. Now they did do a Circe figure earlier too, but it's not in her Eternals outfit. They did a Circe based on her short stint as an Avenger. So I'm hoping that we get a Circe in her Eternals outfit eventually, and then I'm hoping that we get Ajax and Makari and some of the other Eternals down the road. So hopefully this is the start of things to come.
They really nailed his ass chin too. Like,
yeah, he's got a good little Buzz Lightyear.
Like, man, good figure.
Yeah, it is good. And if I'm being 100% honest and being a little critical of this figure, I wish his head looked a little bit more like the Jack Kirby comic book design. Mm-hmm. Like the costume is good, but the head looks a little bit more like He-Man or somebody. It doesn't really scream, Ikaris from the comic books.
It screams Flash Gordon.
Yeah, any kind of blonde hero. And based on the Jack Kirby design, his hair should be a bit shorter. Not like it's okay. It's 85% of the way there, maybe even 90. But just I wish the head was a little different. But anyway, I'm happy to get him. Now this was another one that I was really excited about. Do you know this chick?
Yeah, and this was actually one of the ones I canceled.
Oh, yeah?
Again, jealous.
That is Wolfsbane. I think of her as a member of the New Mutants team, but this particular outfit is based on her look when she was with X Factor. Mm-hmm. But when I was a kid, me and my older brother Doug, we collected comic books together. And I collected Spider-Man, he collected Captain America, I collected Silver Surfer, he collected Iron Man. So we read each other's books, so we had a pretty good scope of the whole Marvel Universe. But when it came to the X books, my brother collected X-Men, he collected Wolverine, he collected X-Factor, he collected Excalibur, he collected classic X-Men. so he had the X-Men universe covered. Except I bought the New Mutants. That was one of my books.
Mhm.
So I had a bigger attachment to the teenage mutants of the New Mutants rather than the more popular X-Men. And I've always wanted figures of that team. And there's still some characters that were missing. Quite a few, actually. Like Magma has never had a figure. Cypher has never had a figure. And even the ones that we have gotten, like Cannonball and now Wolfsbane, they're wearing their outfits from when she was part of X Factor and when Cannonball was part of X Force. So kind of they're like later after the New Mutants. So I would have, like, when it comes to her, I'm not complaining because when she was on the New Mutants, when she transformed into a wolf, she went from like a little redhead girl and then she turned into a full on four-legged wolf. She wasn't really a werewolf per se. She was mostly a wolf. And it was more when she joined X Factor that she took on this werewolfy girl appearance. So I would rather this than an actual wolf. And we did kind of, just to be fair, a couple of years ago they made a I forget her superhero name, but Mirage. So she was a member of the New Mutants. I don't know if you heard. She's the Native American one.
Yep.
And as a bonus feature with her, she had a swappable head. So you could, because all the New Mutants wore the same outfit. They had kind of a uniform. So you could take this teenage female body in the red and black New Mutants outfit and you could make her be Mirage. But she also came with Karma's head, which was another member. And then they also gave you a werewolf head to put on there. So you could buy the figure 3 times, which my brother Doug did. And he has it displayed with each of the 3 heads that came with it. So you could have got a Wolfsbane that way, but it was kind of a cheat Wolfsbane. So I'm glad that she finally got her own sculpt, totally unique. And
yeah, again, jealous. Maybe I'll be able to pick them up someday, but right now is not the time.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, she looks really good. I love her from the zipper on her outfit there. The face sculpt is nice. And like they've done, I think, pretty much all the other members of X Factor. Like they did a Havoc and Polaris 2-pack, and they did Strong Guy was a Build-A-Figure. They did Multiple Man. So yeah, when she was a member of X Factor, I kind of have the whole rest of her team, but I needed her. So she kind of finishes off a team for me. So that's nice. All right, and the last one of the Build-A-Figure wave. This is Kazar. Now, if you don't know Kazar, he's kind of a Tarzan of the Marvel Universe. He lives in the Savage Land, which is a prehistoric jungle up in Antarctica, or down in Antarctica. Anyway,
down.
Yeah, I don't actually know. I think it's in the South Pole. But anyway, so yeah, in the middle of the Antarctica, we'll say there's a prehistoric jungle where the X-Men, I think it first appeared in an X-Men comic book. They go there, but a lot of different characters have been there over the years. Spider-Man, whatever. Kazar has had his own comic book series a few times. But anyway, I've always really liked Kazar. So there he is in all of his Tarzan-like glory. He's basically just a naked dude in a loincloth.
Yep.
He looks a lot like a Savage He-Man.
Also, was going to just say that.
Yep. Not too long ago, I got a Savage He-Man figure. And yeah, they look like they could be
related.
Yeah, they could be roommates or something. In a cave.
Cave mates.
Cave mates, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about him. Pretty basic.
Yeah, he comes with a spear, which is what you would want a kind of caveman-y guy to come with. I think he came with some extra hands and stuff too. He has a little knife that's sheathed on the back of his shorts. But anyway, this guy here, he always appears with his saber-toothed tiger Zabu.
Mm-hmm.
And Zabu was the Build-A-Figure.
Yeah.
So since I knew I wanted Kazar, I wanted a complete Zabu to go with him. And so that's why I was frustrated when I couldn't find Cable and Red Widow for a while. I'm like, I can't have a 2-legged cat, especially because I had both legs on like the right side, so I was missing both the left.
Yeah.
So it's not even like I could put it on my shelf and be like, okay, well, I can balance it on these 2 legs. Like, no, it was totally lopsided. Anyway, so here is Zabu. So it is a very nice saber-tooth tiger sculpt.
Got some weight to him.
Yep. And
Love the articulated jaw. That's a huge selling point. And yeah, he's actually really cool. I love animal, like beast figures.
Mm-hmm.
Still should have got that bear, but anyways. Yeah, no, he's super cool.
I believe he is a he, yes.
Okay.
It.
Let's
I'm pretty sure Zabu is male.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. But
never mind.
Yeah, let's look.
Yeah.
But like this looks like it could be like a Battle Cat figure.
Yeah,
exactly. If you painted it green and stuff, like
it's just Cringer.
Yeah, it's a really nice figure, and hopefully they can find another use for this. I don't know if they will. I can't think off the top of my head of any other cats in the Marvel Universe that need to be made, but there's probably some. I don't know. But yeah, the articulation is nice. The tail moves, the legs move at several different spots. If I have a bit of a complaint about this figure, I wish the head went up higher. Like when he's standing like that. I feel like you want him to look up at Kazar, and he just can't really unless he gets up on his hind legs. Like I just feel like he should be able to look up, but he just can't. And I feel they've been able to do that with other animal figures. They just need like a joint to come back farther on the neck to crank back. So that's a bit of a missed opportunity, but pretty cool. And I'm hoping, I don't know if they will, but pretty much whenever Kazar and Zabu show up, Kazar's wife, Shayna the She-Devil, shows up, and she dresses just like Kazar. She's basically naked except for a little, like, Tarzan, like loincloth and a little bra, like any of those jungle girls, like Sheena. But I don't know if Hasbro would want to put out a girl in a leopard print bikini and sell her at Walmart. They might get into some trouble.
Cancel.
So, like in the same way we saw it recently with the Goblin Queen figure. I've always wanted a Goblin Queen figure from the X-Men, and they were gonna do one as a website exclusive that didn't pan out. So they released her at retail, but they totally changed her outfit. And where she was normally, there was a lot of skin showing. They covered her all up. She's a much more modest version of the character that I wanted. And I really don't think that would work if they did that with Shayna. Because she always wears just a fur bikini. If they gave her like a fur dress or something, it wouldn't be right. But the fact that they gave us Kazar and went through the trouble of giving us a Build-A-Figure Zabu here, I feel like it must be in the back of their head that people are going to want a Shayna. So maybe they'll do her as some sort of like exclusive sometime down the road. So fingers crossed. She's another character that I would really like. And now this set just kind of feels a little incomplete
without her. I really do like the detail on the paws too, like the little pads on the foot. Like it would have been just as easy to not paint those black or dark brown, whatever.
Yeah, like they could have not even sculpted them, but they sculpted them and painted them, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's super cool. Super cool.
Yeah, and it was my brother Doug is a bigger fan of Kazar than I am, just because he grew up reading more of him in the X-Men books, and he didn't buy this figure because he got a convention set. I think it was a San Diego set several years ago. We're talking 10 plus years ago, and it actually consisted of Kazar, Zabu, and Shayna the She-Devil. And so he was kind of like, I already have these guys. I paid quite a bit for them, so I'd go on eBay and get these exclusives. And I think his Kazar figure holds up okay, but the Shayna is pretty bad, and the Zabu is terrible because it's a repaint of a G.I. Joe cat, and it was from the Sigma 6 era when it was really stylized and kind of like Japanese animation looking or whatever. So it looks really out of place with Undoug's Marvel Universe or Marvel Legends shelf. He's got this weird angular cartoon looking cat. So like this Zabu is miles above the previous Zabu release because this was a unique sculpt designed for this character specifically. Anyway, we should wrap up here pretty quick, but I've got one last figure to get that I didn't tell you that I got yet because I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh boy.
So yeah, I'll just show it to you. This is Carnage.
Also had to cancel.
So this is movie Carnage.
Yeah.
So there's two new Carnages that are coming out in the last week or so. They did a retro carded Spider-Man Carnage, like the Prowler that I get, so it comes on an old school card, and it's based on the cartoon. And I was even tempted to get that one.
Me too.
Canceled. I have 2 Carnages. I'm looking at them right there. And this one's still different enough from them. Like, he's got a unique head sculpt that's really nice. I was looking at him in GameStop the other day, and I was like, I kind of want this too. But I literally had just got this guy a couple days prior, and I figure that's probably enough Carnages for a little while. But I am not a big fan of the Venom movies.
No, they were pretty terrible.
They're pretty dumb. The second one, especially.
Yeah.
And I thought they really missed an opportunity with Carnage. He's a character that I would have liked to have seen done right, because he's supposed to be this totally sadistic serial killer already, just as a guy, and then he gets paired up with an equally sadistic, evil serial killer alien to become this crazy Carnage. But it's in a Spider-Man comic book, which is not known for its gore. So Carnage has always kind of been tame in the comic books. He's killed people, but it's never really gory or bloody, and I feel he's always just been held back. And then when they were going to do him in a movie, I'm like, wow, this could really be something. But then they teased him at the end of the first Venom with Woody Harrelson with a ridiculous Ronald McDonald wig, and I was like, ugh,
yeah,
that's not good.
I remember that was the end credit, wasn't it? I remember laughing at that.
Now, mind you, when they did bring Woody Harrelson back for the second movie, which was called Let There Be Carnage, they did get rid of the wig. That was a good idea. But again, the movie was rated like PG-14, so he kills a lot of people in the movie, but he's always like strangling people, and like he can turn his hands into knives, and yet he's just like strangling people and throwing them through walls and stuff. Like, very little blood. And I just felt like not only is this movie stupid plot wise and everything else, but it's just like, it's really disappointing because I don't even get to see Carnage just unleash. But when they made this figure, when it went up for pre-order, I was like, even though the movie's kind of dumb,
that's a sick figure.
It's a sick figure. Like, I really like my Venom movie figure. Like, I have some really nice Venom figures based on the comic books, but when I saw that Venom movie figure, even though he doesn't have the iconic spider, it's just a really cool, unique look. And I got this Carnage, and I was like, I didn't know he was going to be this big. The Venom from the movie was already really big and towers over all my other Venoms. This guy is bigger than the Venom by about a head. He's about a head taller. And he's got all these crazy appendages that you can plug. You can take those off of him, which I might have to when I display him on my shelf because it takes up a lot.
Oh, yeah. Are they like wired?
They're bendable, but you can only start bending them at about a certain point. Like, you need to give them about this much room. So yeah, he would take up a lot of shelf space if I keep those tentacles on him. So I'm either going to have to get creative with how I display him, with putting other guys within his tentacles kind of around him, or I'm just going to have to remove them entirely. And he does have alternate hands, so he has normal kind of clawed hands. I have opted.
Those aren't fun.
They're not as fun. He also has an alternate head, which is pretty cool. You can see it there. He's got the tongue out. But yeah, this guy, I did not expect to like this as much as I do.
He's almost McFarlane scale.
Yeah, he's probably taller than a DC guy, honestly. But there's so much going on here. He's got the wired tentacles, so there's like 5 tentacles in total. He's got the extra head, he's got the bladed hands, and even his whole body is covered in all these little tendrils. So he's kind of hard to hold on to, because whenever you grab onto him, you get a little tendril poking you and stuff. He's really intense. He's really big. His design is close enough to the comic book design that I think it's faithful, but it's different enough to be interesting and to justify owning the different figure. So it's kind of the perfect what you want. It's like, it looks like he does in the comic book. It's different enough. The size is definitely different, because Carnage was never portrayed to be big.
No,
in the comic books, he was smaller than Venom. So the fact that they went with a really big, crazy version of him, I guess I get it. They wanted him to seem more threatening, but yeah, it's just really cool. I think it's awesome.
That is a sick figure. I'm so jealous.
All right, so that is all my new Marvel Legends. We have probably gone over an hour, and we're going to try and shoot another episode before everybody else arrives here tonight for poker. So let's wrap this up. I did all the talking. You close it down.
All right. Well, I'm on the spot, so thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe, give us some followers.
Yeah. Yeah.
and even leave us comments. We generally enjoy reading through your comments, conversing with you guys online.
Yep.
What did you like? What did you not like? And beyond that, keep collecting.
Ciao.